Hello everyone and welcome. This is Infinite Wisdom, and in this video, I'll be sharing with you on how to write a good thesis title. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so that you'll be notified when we will be uploading videos like this. Now, in this video, I'll be sharing with you how to write a good thesis title. Now, a good research title is crucial because it is the first impression your work makes on a potential reader. A strong title should be clear, concise, and informative. Here are some tips to help you craft an effective research title. Number one, be specific. Be specific and be clear. Include key concepts, variables, or the populations you're studying, for example, the impact of social media on adolescent mental health. You observe that there are variables there. The impact of social media or social media is a variable in that sense, and mental health is also a variable. Social media, whatever is the means of measuring social media, could be a frequency of use or the length of use or the medium being used. It doesn't really matter as long as that it is something related to social media. It will be elaborated in the body of the research or in the body of the thesis or in the research discussion. On adolescent mental health, this is the dependent variable. And it is, of course, more specific than merely saying social media and mental health. So in this case, the impact of social media on adolescent mental health is more specific than social media and mental health. So therefore, it is clearer and more specific. Make sure that your title clearly reflects the focus of your research and avoid vague or overly broad titles. Keep it concise. Aim for the title that is concise but informative. Titles are usually between 15 maximum and 10 as the minimum number of words. Eliminate filler words like an analysis of or the study of unless it adds the clarity of the thesis or the research title. If the analysis of or the study of or an examination of helps the clarity, they add a clearer thought in the thesis title or in the research title, then it is okay generally to add these words in the title. In fact, there are a lot of researches published online and published in reputable journal that are using these words. However, if it adds vagueness into the title itself, then avoid these unnecessary words. It doesn't necessarily be there, but if it adds clarity, then you may add these words, but it's not absolutely necessary. The next one is the use of keywords. This is now related to relevance. Include important keywords that reflects the core aspects of the study. This will help others find your research in databases and search engines. If you are publishing your thesis or research papers, it must be within the searchable keywords that are indexed in different search engines in the internet. Use terminologies relevant to your field of study to accurately describe your research. If your study is about businesses or probably engineering or education, then your title must reflect certain terms and terminologies that are related to those a field of discipline in order that other researchers in that specific field may also find your study. Next is make it engaging. meaning keep the words used interesting. Consider drafting a title that piques curiosity while remaining accurate and relevant. While it's important to use specific or field specific terms, avoid excessive jargons that could make the title difficult to understand for non experts. Now, what are jargons? Jargons are specialized terms and expressions used by a particular profession or group or industry that might be difficult for outsiders to understand. These words or phrases often develop a shorthand to communicate complex ideas quickly and efficiently among those familiar in or with the field. For example, in medical profession, terms like stat meaning immediately or BP means blood pressure. These are common jargons. While jargons can enhance communication within the group, it can create barriers for those that are not versed in that specific language, making it more important to avoid or explain jargon when communicating with a broader audience. Reflect the research question. Ensure that the title aligns closely with your research question or hypothesis. Now, in the body of the discussion of your thesis, there are certain questions that you seek to answer because basically that's the purpose of why is it that there is a research in the first place. There is a research question, and that research question is what you're going to answer through different methods of investigation. And so the title must also reflect the research question or the hypothesis. Strive for the balance between specificity and generality. So the title covers the scope of your research without being too narrow or too broad. Include the study design or methodology, that if the methodology or the method is relevant. If your study uses a particular method or approach that is central to your research, consider including it in the title. For example, a longitudinal study of, or a meta-analysis of. You can also use certain statistical analysis in the title, like a correlational study or a study using structural equation model. This is especially useful or specifically useful in the field like medicine, psychology, and social sciences. Consider use of subtitle. A subtitle can clarify the focus of your research to provide additional context. For example, digital marketing strategies, a comparative analysis of B2B and B2C approaches. In this particular example, we use a subtitle in order to provide additional context, in this case, a comparative study of B2B and B2C approaches. Avoid abbreviations and acronyms. Unless an abbreviation or an acronym is widely known, like DNA or NASA, avoid using them in your title as they can confuse readers. Review and revise. Get feedback from peers, advisors, or colleagues to see if your title is clear and accurately represent your research. Be willing to revise your title as your research evolves. It is common to adjust the title after the research is complete. Now, you don't have to be very much accurate in drafting your thesis or research title because that is not final. It can be changed anytime in the span of the entire research process itself. You can change the title in the middle, or you can in fact formulate the title only at the end of the research itself, because the title must be the last, if not one of the last, aspect of the research to be formulated. So it is a wrong notion that you start with a title. In fact, we start with the review of related literature, and then we formulate research questions. We implement the research, and then we analyze, interpret, provide discussions and conclusions, and then you formulate your thesis or your research title. Because in that sense, your research title is now a reflection of what the research is. Now, here are examples of good thesis titles. The role of vitamin D in the prevention of cardiovascular disease, a systematic review. Exploring the impact of remote work on employee productivity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Assessing the environmental impact of plastic waste. Now we have a subtitle, a comparative study of recycling practices in urban and rural areas. If you notice in these particular examples, there are variables included in the title. And we know what are those variables. And we also know what are or who are the probable population that is involved in the study. And we also know what are the methods, like a comparative study of recycling practices. So meaning the method used is a comparison. It could be using certain statistical tools that determine the difference between means of two groups, like t-test or analysis of variance. So meaning it reflects what it intends to do or what it has intended in the research itself. Here are some checklists for a good research title. Does it clearly state the main topic or focus of the research? Is it specific enough to reflect the scope of the study? Does it include relevant keywords? Is it concise and free of unnecessary words? Does it avoid jargons, abbreviations, and acronyms? Does it align with a research question or hypothesis? Is it engaging and likely to attract readers' interest? Those are the checklists for a good research title. Thank you very much. I hope that you learned something in this video.